Hey, what's going on, you guys? I hope everyone is having a wonderful weekend. First and foremost, I'd like to start off, as always, thank you for clicking on my video and taking time out of your precious day to lend an ear to what I have to say. So in today's video, the topic we're going to address is, why is it in your best interest to strive for power under the assumption that you think you have a good, wholehearted soul? So first, we got to understand that every single day there's an incremental transfer of power between the older generation and the younger generation. Now we have to contemplate exactly who is giving that power and who is receiving that power. If it's a good person, great. But we also have to consider that there are some people that have greed in their soul and look for ways to extort the masses and preserve the power that they've built for themselves. And that's extremely important, because since the dawn of time, there's always been friction between good and evil, inevitably leading to a clash. Now, if you look at past history, there's always inevitably a clash between good and evil. Now, let's theoretically say if there was enough evil people that honed all the power, right? What would that world look like? It wouldn't be very prosperous, okay? Maybe to the select few, but for the masses, it would not be very prosperous if the people full of greed attained all the power. Now, on the flip side, what if all the virtuous people in this world looked at power as their duty, right? The attainment of power. What would that world look like? I think it would be really, really good. I mean, it only makes sense, right? So the reason why power is so important is because it dictates how society is ran from a macro scale perspective. This is why it's in our best interest to attain power and to look at it as something as virtuous, given that you use it or utilize it in an ethical manner. So today, I'm going to share 4 forms of power, and I'm sure there's more. And if you can think of one, please leave it in the comment or personally message me. But just for the sake of this video, I only came up with 4. So the first one being is money. The second one, influence. The third one, knowledge. And the fourth and last one is force. Now, if we move on to the first one, money. When you think of money, you think of Elon Musk. You think of Jeff Bezos. And the friction here is poor versus rich. Now, if a poor man is going to says he's going to do something, there's so many obstacles in their way. I mean, just think about it, right? If you struggle to feed your kids and your family and pay rent, how do you expect to change the world? How do you expect to cultivate power, right? If a rich man says, I'm going to move mountains, he's going to fucking move it. He has resources, he has money, he has power. So as a rich person, your words hold a lot more weight, right? So second one, influence, right? MLK, we think of people like MLK, Malcolm X, Gandhi. Now these men, they didn't have money, but they had so much power because they were such an influence to our society, and they impacted it in such a way that we still are reaping the fruits of their labor to this day. So very influential men. The friction here is popular versus alienated, right? If you're a popular person, right, that means people like you. That means people approve of what you are doing. So it just solidifies your existence and your behavior, right? You have to be a popular person that can bring people together for a common cause, right? If you are alienated, you won't influence anybody. If nobody likes you, how are you going to influence people, right? Maybe you'll influence them of what not to do, but it is in your best interest not to be alienated, but to be popular, right? So third one, knowledge. Third one is knowledge. We think of Albert Einstein, Nikola Tesla, the inventor of the alternative current. The reason why most of our world is powered today is because of this man right here. Now, he wasn't too powerful, unfortunately. He is a unique case, and the reason being is because a lot of people stole his inventions and extorted his knowledge. So unfortunately, Nikola Tesla wasn't too powerful near the end of his life. So it's in our best interest to find a balance of all these four, right? It's not just one thing, it's a myriad of things. So Nikola Tesla, the friction here is informed versus ignorant. If you are informed, you know how the game works. You know how to manipulate the game, and you know how to influence things, right? Knowledge, we've all heard, knowledge is power, right? And if you're ignorant, man, ignorant people, they'll commit the same mistake 3 times and then do it one more time, expecting a different outcome. Ignorant people usually start off in square one and they stay in square one for a long, long time. And the only way to get out of that rut is inform yourself, right? So you don't want to be ignorant. Next one is force. Force, you think of people like Hitler, Stalin, David and Goliath. If I remember the biblical story right, Goliath was a big old bully, and then David, threw a rock at that fool and he died, right? So I think that's how the story went. And the friction between here is courageous versus passive, right? So I understand that courage has a great connotation to it, but Hitler does not have a great connotation, nor does Stalin. But hear me out. So Hitler had to have some sort of courage and audacity to go against the whole world, right? Stalin had to have some sort of courage and audacity to enslave his country and make it an economic powerhouse, right? A passive person cannot fill the shoes of Hitler. A passive person cannot fill the shoes of Stalin, right? David had to be courageous in order to beat Goliath, right? So being passive, it's very, very hard to cultivate power. Okay, so we got to strive to improve on all these factors. Now, just because I have everything right here neatly written out doesn't mean that I'm perfect or I've mastered all these. As a matter of fact, some of these things to this day I still struggle on improving, right? I suck at some of these, right? And I'll take you to the first thing I suck at. So when it comes to work, I'm pretty good at it, but saving, not so much, right? So I'm not a saint. Just because I have this nicely written out board doesn't mean I excel in all of these things. I just have a nicely written out map or compass, and I have a concrete direction, right? But that doesn't mean I've mastered all of them. I just strive to master these. So to build the money, you need to work, you need to save. I personally need to improve on this one. And then the second one is you need to build a business, a structure that produces wealth, and also invest your money. This is one thing I love doing. I'm not the best at it, but I love investing my money. And then lastly, but most importantly, to grow your money is share your wealth. Some of the best CEOs in this world know this. The biggest and most prominent companies in the world, such as Apple and Amazon, produce thousands of millionaires, right? Jeff Bezos and Steve Jobs were not the only billionaires produced from those companies. And they knew that they had to share the wealth, because how do you expect people to build your company if you don't share the wealth, if you don't share the benefits? They're not going to put any skin in the game if they're not reaping any rewards, right? So share the wealth. So as soon as you build your wealth, you can share it with the community, your family, or the people that help build your wealth. Now, you want to do it strategically, because I've met people who give their whole life, and then they become resentful and bitter because they receive nothing in return. And it's because they gave too much. Okay, there's a limit. There's a limit. Second one, building your influence, right? You gotta inform yourself. You gotta inform yourself. If you sound informed, people will lend an ear, right? If a whole classroom is lost and doesn't know what to do, the most informed person usually takes the attention. If you're as dumb as rocks, right, people are gonna stop listening to you once they figure that out. So inform yourself. That's really important to be influential, but just as important is setting the example. If people know you are informed but you don't set the example, you're just a big fat hypocrite, right? Nobody wants to be a hypocrite. It's a bad look. Most importantly, to be influential is approach with empathy. Have you ever seen someone approach another person and they decide to vent all their problems, and then the way that person responds is through a harsh judgment and tonality? Well, you should have done this, you should have done that. And then the other person gets all defensive and tries to justify why they've done what they've done, right? It's not a helpful conversation, right? In order to influence someone, you have to lower their ego. You have to lower their emotional barriers. And the way you do that is when you approach someone with empathy, with the desire to understand rather than judge. And in that manner, you can resonate with the person more, and then the person will listen to you. So it's very important. If you're going to be influential, you have to approach people with empathy. People who are judgmental are just not going to get the best results out of people. So how to build your knowledge? Reading has been one of the biggest things in my life. Books have gold. Educational videos have silver. And then television is like aluminum. There's so much of it, right? Television is more for entertainment, whereas educational videos, the reason why I say it's silver is because they have great things in it, but usually by the end of the video, they're like, oh, buy my course and then you'll get the other half of the secret, right? So that's why I say it's silver, whereas books have pure gold. And the reason being is because when you're writing a book, right, it's like writing a legacy, leaving a legacy behind. So you want to lay it all out on the table. So I've discovered a lot of gold nuggets from reading. People usually don't hold back when they're writing a book. So read. Second one is listen. So just like having a problem in saving, I've had a problem listening growing up in my life. And I'm trying to improve on it to this day. But listening allows you to get constructive criticism, feedback, right? It allows you to understand people more. So you got to listen. Third one is observe. Observing allows you to digest, absorb like a sponge the rules of the game of life, right? You ever seen freaking a room of 30 hyper kids, but there's that one kid who just sits back and observe? That kid is going to grow up to be one of the smartest kids ever, because from an early age, he's just learning the game. He's absorbing, how to play the game of life or how it works, right? So when you're observing, you're absorbing. Fourth one is question. A lot of us go through the routines in life and we don't question why we do what we do. But when you question why you do what you do, when someone approaches you and questions you of, why you do what you do, you're able to have more of a concrete answer, right? You're able to solidify your beliefs and your thoughts if you question things, and you become more of a unique person because you have a reason for everything and you take an alternative path, right? If something is dictated to the masses, right, most people will accept it as truth, but the ones who question it will then have like a deeper understanding of things. So questioning is highly, highly beneficial. My senior year, English teacher, one of my English teachers, she literally spent weeks teaching us the art of asking questions, and it just changed my life. It did. It really did. The better questions you can ask, the better answers you can produce. So you wanna get good at that, asking questions. Last one is refine your thoughts. Because knowledge is great when someone tells you something, but there's always opportunity to refine your thoughts, right? Information always comes up, things always get updated, and maybe when you learn something the first time, the way you interpreted it might be distorted. So if you constantly refine your thoughts and your beliefs, right, you're gonna keep evolving. We are all young people, right? So we're not in our final form. So it is in your best interest to constantly refine who you are as a person. Last one, force. The way to build up your force is to desensitize yourself to discomfort. These people right here, David, Hitler, Stalin, I'm willing to bet you that they still felt discomfort. The people who confront other people or put themselves in hard situations, they are still uncomfortable. But the thing is, the reason why they're able to pull it off so well is because they become desensitized to it. The more you expose yourself to conflict, confrontation, or challenges, the more desensitized you become to the discomfort, right? So to say like, oh, I'm going to start becoming more, confrontational as soon as I get over my discomfort. No, it's always going to be there. Discomfort will always be there, right? It's just a matter of becoming desensitized to it. So also another one is build, maintain, and respect your temple. When I say build your temple, I mean nourish your body. Have you ever seen football players, rugby players, or just big people in general? They're a lot more confrontational. To put it in simple terms, I mean, they're big. They have a lot of body armor, right? So that's as simple as it gets. Build your temple. Second one, maintain your temple, right? You want to nourish your body. Every day, your body's constantly changing for better, for worse. So if you want to change it for the better, you got to make sure you keep up with your maintenance. Last one is respect your temple. You got to have some self-respect. The less self-respect you have, the more passive you are, and people are able to impose their ideas onto you, right? So you have to have a high sense of self-respect. And personally, the way I've built self-respect in the past is through discipline. Through discipline, you become more confident in yourself. So that's as simple as it gets. So if you are a good person, right? If you don't care about power, the next person will receive that power. And there's no telling whether they're a good person or a bad person. All right, so it's in our best interest as virtuous people to strive for power. If virtuous people held all the power, then, and if the masses of people held all the power in which we're virtuous, I feel like the world would be a much, much better place. Power can be utilized for the betterment of our society for the generations to come, or it can be used for the detriment of our society for the generations that come. And it's up to you and us. And by us, I mean the young people. It's up to us to decide whether our society is going to become better or worse. And it's through our active effort or our passivity. Okay? So given all these things, if we learn to implement these things in our life, hopefully we can cultivate power, and you watching this can make the world a better place. And I really, really do hope so, because if evil people hold all the power, then the gap between the lower class and the upper class is only going to spread out, and our middle class is just going to deteriorate, right? So the attainment of power is virtuous if you use it in an ethical manner, okay? So a lot of people have been conditioned to believe that the desire for power is non-virtuous. That's wrong, okay? Power is important, and if you ignore it, then you're just putting yourself on the sidelines. Don't put yourself in the sidelines. Get in the game of life, okay? Power dictates our lives in more ways than you think. So if you find ways to kind of improve yourself on all of this, you can only imagine the positive impact that you can have on life. And that's what I'm hoping everybody watching this can do. So after this video, I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. But I also hope that you guys take just a little bit of time contemplating how you can cultivate your power and then utilize it for the betterment of society. And then, maybe as a byproduct, you'll be in the history books. And I'll be glad to read up on it and teach my grandkids about it. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe out there. And yeah, goodbye.